You got war in Russia. Are they trying to start World War III? We've never seen this level of propaganda, or maybe we have, but now we're more awake to it. It's truly amazing. All over social media, just outright lies getting proven, lies and propaganda in real time. It's something to behold, the level of lying. And then the idiot woke leftists, they're totally on board and bloodthirsty to go kill any Russian that they see. And they don't even know where Ukraine is on a map. They buy all the propaganda, hook, line, and sinker, never ask one question about any of it from a government and media who are known liars. They've lied us into every war that we've been in this country. Since you could go back to the War of 1812, for crying out loud, you know what I mean? Every war has been started by a false flag, propaganda, lies from the media now. And they're trying to do it again here with Ukraine, Russia. Is Russia advancing into Ukraine territory? Yes. Is the stories coming out of the mainstream media that they're killing women and children? That Putin had a meeting with his cabinet and business oligarchs, and he said in that meeting, "I'm killing women and children." That's what the mainstream media is out reporting, right? And so, does anybody really believe that he would say that at this type of meeting? I find it highly doubtful. Okay. I have Thomas from Alpha Omega Energy on the line with me to give us his analysis and break down the news. Before we talk to Thomas, let's take a look at this Ukrainian military recruitment video. And let's pray for peace. We need peace, no war, no killing anybody. Let's have some peace out of the deal. But you got to realize that NATO and the United States are putting all these weapons right on Russia's border right there, right on their front door. Bioweapons labs, nuclear weapons, all kind of crazy stuff right there. So what do you think that Putin's just going to say, okay, guys, you guys go ahead and build up a giant weapons reserve here in Ukraine, and I'm not going to do anything about it, and I'm going to wait for you guys to come kill me, right? I mean, that's basically where we're at here. And you got to always say, I guess we have to give the default, I'm not pro Putin, right? That's because they have to. If you're not for Ukraine, then you must be pro Putin and a Russian agent, right? I'm for none of them. I don't like any of these corrupt governments. Putin's corrupt. Ukraine's corrupt. U.S. government, our government here is corrupt. I'm for none of these corrupt governments. We don't need innocent people to die in this conflict. Let's pray for peace. Let's get into the show now and get into this crazy propaganda. Ukrainian army recruitment video here.
Я водил маршрутки. Я скоро удружусь. Я фанат-шахтер. Начальник отдела продаж. Я прораб. Я программист. Я свидетель на свадьбе. Дядя Юра. Таксист. Я вчитель физкультуры. Я студент-геолог. Я фирма. Я врач-друг. Где школа? Я сусід, який завжди стукає по батареї. Я єдиний син.
Sorry for the audio audience there on the podcast. It was it's normal Joe Blow mechanic, teacher, whatever, Joe Blow Ukrainian saying that I'm going to go to war to fight Russia, basically, and it's a recruitment video, heartfelt and whatnot, propaganda to get poor people to go join the military and become cannon fodder and die. What do you think of that video, Thomas?
It's incredible propaganda. Wow, that's clearly that was filmed before. It was filmed in advance. There's no way that they could have made that up just instantaneously and then gone and slapped something like that together. I don't think so, unless they have some of the best, the fastest, most effective video team in the world. I had a video team, 3 video guys that I poached from the MasterChef television show to make the videos for us. And so those are professionals. And in a month, they couldn't, 3 of them together collectively with my direction, couldn't put something like that together so high quality and very long with many people, all these different interviews and whatnot. So that incredible propaganda. So they're really, set up to, with this program, this arsenal of media manipulation tools that they've been building in advance in preparation, in their plans to do this, to brainwash absolutely everybody, and get this kind of result where nobody in America or anywhere in the world has any clue what the hell is going on with Ukraine, domestic political affairs and the corruption inside of the government and what's actually happening there. Nobody watches this. That's not shown on any media anywhere. That's not educated to anyone in schools. So the fact is, the vast majority of people, 99.9% of these human beings, and particularly the left wing, who are so totally absorbed in, toys and games and fake reality and luxuries and travel and celebrities and celebrity life and all of this bullshit, this distraction from what's important in the world. They don't focus on these other issues. Only 8% of Americans have a passport, for Christ's sake. And then with the COVID fraudemic, nobody travels anymore, right? So they blocked that to close down everybody's window of education and the information that they get access to, and that's clearly orchestrated in a place like Canada by Trudeau to make it so none of these Canadians even have an idea of what's going on, what freedoms are actually being provided to their citizens in other countries, so that then they can exploit these people. That's very clear what's happening. So nobody knows what's going on in Ukraine. And look at the knee-jerk reaction, instantaneous, like total overwash. I mean, it's just a zombie crowd, like some kind of mind virus, the media mind virus, just instantaneously in 3.2 seconds infected 100% of this left-wing population. And they're 100% on board with quote unquote with Ukraine, right? And we're all on board. All humans are on board with quote unquote Ukraine, right? Everybody wants peace. Everybody wants no war. Everywhere in the world, everybody wants justice and freedom and safety for all citizens of the world. So in fact, everybody's for Ukraine. So what does that mean? And these left-wing people, they're not asking that question. They're not asking any questions, as you said. I haven't seen any of them ask any questions. They're just, pro-Ukraine, hate Russia, smash these 200 million people into the ground, eliminate them from society, instant total hate. I mean, it's just become a massive hate campaign, a hate agency campaign against the Russians. I mean, it's like
that's a great description, a hate agency campaign. What all these people seem to forget is, Russia is heavily armed with nuclear weapons, right? Mutually assured destruction. You get too crazy, they're going to nuke us. We're going to nuke them, and we're going to have thermonuclear winter for all you virtue signalers out there, and it's not going to be very nice at all now, is it? We need to call for peace, for calmer heads to prevail, and not to push it to get us into World War III. If NATO gets involved, if Israel gets involved, and then China gets involved on Russia's side, then you got World War III, man. We don't need that. We don't need that. And here's some propaganda from our The Simpsons, right? How they predicted many future events of what's been happening in this movie that we live in. And so now, since Simpsons posted this yesterday, hashtag
Right.
Ukraine, and they got their and Marge is Ukrainian, apparently people are saying, because her hair and her face match the Ukrainian flag.
So yeah, you're right.
See
So-
that Marge Simpson right there.
So the you can see on the left-wing social medias, which now, of course, now, as opposed to even just 2 years ago, the left-wing social medias have been completely, echo chamber brainwashed, completely whitewashed of all independent media, of all conservatives, of all these big conservative accounts, the pundits, the analysts, the talkers, the thinkers, the questioners, and even presidents and senators and representatives and candidates and people like that all over the world. Millions of accounts have been deleted, criminally vandalized, criminally destroyed, and their records and their networks criminally destroyed and eliminated, and their personal property, business materials criminally vandalized, destroyed, and stolen, and a lot of money stolen from these people and these businesses as well, and businesses just criminally destroyed.
Thomas, probably the biggest name, the biggest person out there that I can think of is President Trump. Let's hear what President Trump had to say at CPAC tonight about what's going on in Ukraine. He's probably the biggest voice out there that's been censored by these
Yesterday, reporters
people.
asked me if I thought President Putin was smart. I said, of course he's smart, to which I was greeted with, oh, that's such a terrible thing to say. I'd like to tell the truth, yes, he's smart. The NATO nations, and indeed the world, as he looks over what's happening strategically with no repercussions or threats whatsoever, they're not so smart. They're looking the opposite of smart. If you take over Ukraine, we're going to sanction you, they say. Sanction? Well, that's a pretty weak statement. Putin is saying, oh, they're going to sanction me. They sanctioned me for the last 25 years. You mean I can take over a whole country and they're going to sanction me? You mean they're not going to blow us to pieces, at least psychologically? The problem is not that Putin is smart, which of course he's smart, but the real problem is that our leaders are dumb. Dumb. So dumb. And they so far allowed him to get away with this travesty and assault on humanity. That's what it is. This is an assault on humanity. So sad. Putin is playing Biden like a drum, and it's not a pretty thing as somebody that loves our country to watch. It's not a pretty thing to watch. You know, I was with Putin a lot. I spent a lot of time with him. I got along with him. I got along with President Xi. I got along with Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un has massive nuclear power. It's a good thing to get along with people, not a bad thing. You can be very tough and get along. You know, I'm the one that ended his pipeline. He said, you're killing me with the pipeline. Nobody else ended his pipeline. Biden came in, he approved it. But I did a lot of things that were very tough on Russia. No president was ever as tough on Russia as I was. And I'd come in, the fake news would say, Trump loves Russia, he loves Russia. And we had the Russia hoax, which is now with Durham and Mueller and all the rest, just a total hoax. It was a made-up, fictional story. But with respect to what's going on now, it would have been so easy for me to stop this travesty from happening. He understood me, and he understood that I didn't play games. This would not have happened. Someday I'll tell you exactly what we talked about.
So that's President Trump, one of the most censored people in the world, speaking tonight at CPAC. Yeah, so I mean, none of this. Love Trump, hate him. I got serious questions about his COVID response and a few other things, but it is true that under his presidency, we didn't get into any major wars. We had that one event with Syria, and I guess he killed some terrorists, if you call them terrorists, whatever you want to call them, some Middle Easterners. He killed that Iranian general, and he killed some Al-Qaeda guys that are probably funded by the CIA. But he launched those missiles at Syria over that false flag chemical weapon attack, but nothing major at all. I mean, with all things considered, how much the military-industrial complex wants us to constantly be in all these crazy wars. I guess you could say Yemen, we're funding that backhandedly. We're funding a lot of places doing proxy wars, but at least we didn't have.
Why they need to understand why that's happening, what the American plan is. So everybody needs to study and look into and get to know as much as you possibly can. Absorb yourself in this information on what is the new American Century project. That's very clear that that's what's going on, that is the bulk of the planning. It's the full direction, the full vision and direction that the military industrial complex is going, and what they are doing is pursuing this new American Century project, which is the New World Order. That's their direction militarily, in their campaign, in their planning, in the countries that they're targeting, in how they're advancing their fronts, the military fronts. That is very clearly now exactly what it is and what they've been working on for the last 30 to 40 years, 50 years, since Bush Sr. and probably, a little bit before that. This is the Kissinger doctrine. It's what Henry Kissinger, who was, in the Pentagon for decades, generations, and who Trump just fired the 12 people around Henry Kissinger out of the Pentagon, like the week before he left the White House. Why he did that, he's never made any statements. He hasn't talked to anybody about that. We have no idea. And Trump, Trump says, this never would have happened under me. Putin wouldn't have done this. I would have handled it, etc. But he doesn't give any details on what he would have done or what he would do differently. He doesn't outline a strategy. He doesn't talk about it. He just says this, and it's just, he'd be better than Biden. Let's blind faith trust him instead of blind faith trusting Biden. So it's not a good approach either. It's again more secrecy and keeping things under wraps, etc. When he should be open about the strategy, etc. And then, if the Democrats are going to steal his strategy, fine, that's great. That'd be excellent. Just as long as the proper job gets done, that's what you need to have. And you need to have more people educated. He's not educating people here by saying that at all. And that's a problem. That's a total failure in his strategy, right? And in educating people, because, you can't expect to be a demagogue. I don't think so in this environment, certainly. And, have all of society start to learn about that strategy and then make copies of these kind of minds. In order to change the world, change society, you need to affect the minds of these people when it's politics. If it's a technology or something like that, maybe you want to, shell up and be a little bit more protective. But when it comes to, changing society and the way that society works, this is, you have 500 plus people in the Congress. If you're the only voice talking about something, just asking people to trust you and saying that you would have done it, you'd get a better result. Well, you better, it'd be a better strategy to have these 500 people copying what you're doing, understanding completely what that better way is. And he doesn't do that. And that's very, very, not only unfortunate, but it's bad strategy. He needs to change that. I don't like that. And that just plays right into, again, the deep state, the intelligence industry, this hidden corruption. He's talking about, cleaning out the swamp. He obviously wasn't able to do that. And even the areas he talked about focusing on, like he said, watch the elections machines. He said that in 2012, and he went in, 2020, and he says he was defeated by the elections machines. Now, Bill Barr, who the Q people were saying was the hero, and of course Q were the subversionists to defraud all of the conservatives and defraud Americans. And then there's that famous moment where Trump was grilled by I forget the name of the lady, one of the CNN Child Necrophilia Network talking heads. This woman was grilling him, saying, "You know what Q is? What about Q? What about QAnon? You're orchestrating this QAnon or involved in this QAnon." Trump said, "I don't know. I don't know anything about QAnon. I really don't know. No, I don't know. No, I don't know." So he's showing the world that he has no idea what the hell is going on with this QAnon situation. Well, so that means that the entire intelligence agency, the entire intelligence apparatus.
Thomas, and then they would say him saying he doesn't know actually means that he's saying he knows. And then people would believe that, and you're like, what? Come on, man. But right, I know a lot of people that fell for that, Thomas. That Q psyop, Operation Trust, was run by the Bolsheviks. Everybody should look that up. Operation Trust. They ran almost the same identical psyop in Russia in I think it was like the early 1900s, man. I mean, you guys look this stuff up. Operation Trust.
Right. So, people really need to, if they're a Q fan, they're into that at all, then you want to be more educated. If you're pretending like, okay, well, I've got information on, inside dirt and whatever, go look up the inside information. Go find out what Operation Trust is. Learn more about what you say that you think. Go study this. Educate yourself, and then you'll know even more. If you've got a big ego, well, then you'll be.
Thomas, let's cut to a clip here because I wanted to build the show and show this propaganda.
Yes.
To get anybody following. Okay, here's a clip from the film broadcast from 1976, and I think this guy lays it out. This is 45 years ago, 1976. Take a listen to this clip from the film broadcast from Howard Beale, the character in there, the news anchorman, telling it how it is. Pull that up here and action.
So, a rich little man with white hair died. What has that got to do with the price of rice, right? And why is that woe to us? Because you people and 62 million other Americans are listening to me right now. Because less than 3% of you people read books. Because less than 15% of you read newspapers. Because the only truth you know is what you get over this tube. Right now, there is an entire generation that never knew anything that didn't come out of this tube. This tube is the gospel, the ultimate revelation. This tube can make or break presidents, popes, prime ministers. This tube is the most awesome goddamn force in the whole godless world. And woe is us if it ever falls into the hands of the wrong people. And that's why woe is us that Edward George Reddy died. This company is now in the hands of CCA, the Communication Corporation of America. There's a new chairman of the board, a man called Frank Hackett, sitting in Mr. Ruddy's office on the 20th floor. And when the 12th largest company in the world controls the most awesome goddamn propaganda force in the whole godless world, who knows what shit will be better for truth on this network. So you listen to me. Listen to me. Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. Now, if you want the truth, go to God. Go to your gurus. Go to yourself. Because that's the only place you're ever going to find any real truth. But man, you're never going to get any truth from us. We'll tell you anything you want to hear. We lie like hell. We'll tell you that Kojak always gets the killer and that nobody ever gets cancer in Archie Bunker's house. And no matter how much trouble the hero is in, don't worry, just look at your watch. At the end of the hour, he's going to win. We'll tell you any shit you want. So
that's the film there. Network, and I think he did a great job breaking down, telling you straight up. That was 45 years ago. Continue here, Thomas. Let me show you some more of this propaganda, this outrageousness. Okay, this clip right here was first posted. You couldn't see the men behind the camera, right? You just saw the people running, and somebody posted on Twitter, "Oh my gosh, Russian army's attacking civilians in Ukraine." And then somebody posted this, a shot behind the scenes. And since then, that post has obviously been removed because they were exposed. But take a look at behind the scenes, the making of the propaganda, the making of the fear, the making of war propaganda here.
Roll camera. 1 second. Here we go. And action!
Now that was from a film in the Ukraine, I think 4 or 5 years ago. But they're posting that saying that was Russian military attacking civilians in Ukraine. So I mean, the propaganda goes on and on here. Thomas, take a look at this one. Let me just run through this these propagandas, and then we'll get some more of your analysis. These guys got cardboard rifles right here, cardboard AK-47s, and this was actually broadcast on Fox News, and we're supposed to be convinced that these are Ukrainian freedom fighters with cardboard AK-47s. It's here's a good one too. Crisis actors getting painted up here. Take a look at this one. Short clip. War victims there. They're posting that, saying that, and I've seen them asking for donations now. Take a look at this one. This is big time right here. All the European newspapers, not all of them, but a lot. The same woman, right, that was actually from I think a chemical plant explosion. Don't quote me on that, but this was from another. I don't want to be spreading fake news propaganda, but this woman this photo is from another event, not current, didn't happen now. And her face, her sad bloody bandaged face is plastered all over major European newspapers here, and a couple US ones as well. It's and some Spanish ones.
Yeah, and now Facebook. I'm going to share a link here shortly. I'll share a link shortly, but the Facebook is going to quote unquote temporarily allow the praise of the Azov Battalion, which is a Ukrainian literal hardcore neo-Nazi military unit that was previously banned from being freely discussed under Facebook's dangerous individuals and organizations policy. It's literal real life neo-Nazis, just like Adolf Hitler, fully armed military Nazi groups. Like all of these imaginary neo-Nazi groups in America, you can imagine if the Biden them to the teeth, with the top weapons that you could possibly get in America. And you could imagine if that actually happened, or if Trump had done that, right, then it'd be even more of a fever pitch. The entire left would be all over it. And here now Zelensky has military units like that, right? And now Facebook is allowing its billions of users to praise them and support them, and allowing people access to that. Get that link up here.
It's truly amazing. Let me show you this clip here. Here's old Zelensky talking at the World Economic Forum in 2020. Let's take a listen to what he has to say here.
We do not have sufficient investments. We propose to all of you to be the stakeholders and shareholders of the success of the new Ukraine today, for the pragmatic and falsified world drastically wants miracle, and the world economy on the verge of the new global crisis needs economic miracle. Ukraine is the place where miracles come true.
This guy, that's the president of Ukraine, and he's an actor, comedian, and he's out there. He's been exposed with the dressing up in military gear. And did Thomas freeze again? I think Thomas froze. He dropped off there. Okay, continuing here. I want to play this clip. This is from CNN back at the first Desert Storm Gulf War. Take a look at this hardcore propaganda from CNN, the most trusted name in news. Pretty amazing stuff.
It could possibly, and we emphasize possibly, have been a ground impact of a Scud. It could have been a ground impact of the Patriot, or it could have been the result of debris falling between the two of them. We just don't know right now, but we do know that at least 2 Scud missiles incoming were fired at Riyadh, and according to the Saudi military, they were both shot down. Charles Jaco, CNN, reporting live from Saudi Arabia. was almost exactly 2 hours ago when the sirens went off here in
So
Saudi
can you
Arabia, where we are in eastern Saudi Arabia. There was no problem. However, there was an intercept elsewhere near the capital city, Riyadh. We've got some videotape of that you can take a look at right now. Hi, Atlanta. We're about to have a short course in missile identification. This is a Scud. You can tell it by its distinctive label. Now, when the missile is launched, the first thing you look for is the plume sticking out behind it. Now, when you detect this, you can tell it's been launched. Thank you.
Graffiti on it? Yeah, show me graffiti.
Larry King show or bust. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this shit. Look. The top 10 things about Saudi Arabia. Maybe we could shorten the list to 5. Oh God, Geopolitics by Dan Quayle. Je suis un journaliste américain. Woof. Woof. Oh, I love this country so much.
You guys just don't have a clue.
Well, Cheryl, it was almost exactly 2 hours ago when the sirens went off here in Saudi Arabia, where we are in eastern Saudi Arabia. There was no problem. Let me just size my mask and fit it for a second, just like I always do. Stand by. All clear. They're. What are they saying? Are they saying all clear? Were they saying all clear down there just now? All clear. All clear. Está bien with a false alarm.
So there's some behind the scenes from the first Gulf War propaganda from a CNN reporter. And everybody can see. Are you there, Thomas? Thomas seems frozen up still. Continuing here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I see
The connection's a little
green.
Yeah, so here is the Azov military battalion. So there's calls. Putin onto international TV and stated that he's fighting a neo-Nazi, a radical, like literal Nazi party, which is the under the Zelensky administration. And this goes way back. There's been neo-Nazi groups in the Ukraine since World War II. Real like full-on absolutist, white supremacist Nazi groups, militarized, etc. And they joined with the German Nazis and fought against the Russians, massacred Christians, massacred Polish people, massacred Jews. Also is the story, and massacred Russians as well, and were protecting the southern military front. And working with the Nazi Germans against Russia in World War II. And of course, historians, those who study the history and study, who financed Hitler, who built up Hitler, what happened there, how did this possibly occur? They all see very quickly that this was orchestrated by the globalists, by the elite European royal families, by the British Crown, by the Rockefeller family and their organizations, and financed by the Rothschilds, and financed by the Bill Gates family, his father, his grandfather, etc. So this elitist group that was working on, again, and then they formed after World War II, the New American Century Project.
Don't forget about this guy, Thomas, the Bush family, George Bush. He's somebody retweeted this on Twitter. They said the king of illegal evasions. Isn't that the truth, right? And so George Bush is chiming in now. George Bush says Russia's attack on Ukraine constitutes the gravest security crisis on the European continent since World War II. We cannot tolerate the authoritarian bullying and danger that Putin poses. And this comes from the man who invaded the wrong countries. The official story of 9/11 says 19 hijackers with box cutters hijacked these planes and crashed them into the World Trade Center is the official story. And then we go and invade Iraq and Afghanistan, not Saudi Arabia. So go figure. And it's come out that in the 9/11 paper, I forget what they were called, But 9/11 documents have been released that say that, yes, Saudi Arabia was the ones actually involved in it. But
Right. And the bin Laden family is a Saudi family, and Bush is business partners with them, was business partners with them at the time, long-term business partners, and has been business partners with them ever since, with the brothers, etc. And so, you know, Iraq, major.
Thomas froze up again over there. Continuing here. It's just ridiculous. It's the woke, the virtue signaling. Here you go. This is a perfect example of what this show's titled, Woke World War IV, where everything is fake but real people die. Self-righteous pricks. People who wanted their neighbors locked up because they coughed and wanted their coffee shop waitress sacked because they didn't have the jab have suddenly gone all humanitarian again over a country they couldn't even find on a map. F off frauds. Isn't that the truth right there? I think Thomas is having some internet issues. Oh, I like this one. Oh, it fell off. I like this one right here. This is pretty funny. Vodka rebellion, and we saw politicians calling for that. Who do we see? I forget even. Texas governor and a bunch of other rhino fake conservatives saying, get rid of all your Russian, anything Russian, get rid of it. This propaganda is a real, I don't know, it's probably water, not vodka. But Vodka Rebellion, Fox News is reporting bars, liquor stores in U.S., Canada say no to Russia's famous export vodka, of course. Stoli vodka, looks like. Quick look at this. Really? So dump your profits, dump your money out, basically, because why? You're going to virtue signal. You're not going to have any Russian products. I jokingly said on a tweet earlier, I searched my whole house for Russian products, couldn't find any, but I found a whole lot of Chinese-made products. And that is the truth of the matter. Let's hear, let me see here. Looks like Thomas is trying to get back on. Let's hear now from Tulsi Gabbard. She's been called now she ran as a Democrat candidate for president, but now Tulsi Gabbard apparently is a right-wing Nazi bad person. Let's hear what she had to say about Russia-Ukraine war. Tulsi Gabbard.
President Putin, you've made your point. Before it's too late, stop the attack now. I have both Ukrainian and Russian friends, and I know that they have aloha. They have respect and love for each other like brothers and sisters. It's clear that the Russian people and the Ukrainian people both just want to live in peace. So I implore you, end this assault now before it gets to the point of no return and the suffering becomes unimaginable.
So she's been calling Oliver for that little message. I mean, you could go in here. Are you effing serious? And it just goes on and on. Tulsi would say, would you say that I was a misogynist if I said go screw yourself? You're a hypocritical traitor. And so, I mean, it just goes on and on from these left-wing maniacs. I don't even know if they're people, if they're drones, clones, lizard people, aliens. I don't know. They don't act like humans. They don't act like like normal people. They act like complete psychopaths.
So why is she completely ignoring and deliberately ignoring the fact that for the last 8 years, the Donetsk and Luhansk states of Ukraine declared independence, which is their democratic right to run their own state and secede from the Ukraine and become independent countries if they so desire. Just like if
we're not supposed to talk about that, Thomas, about what are they, Donetsk, and how do you say the other one?
Donetsk and Luhansk.
Yeah, we're not supposed to talk about that or even know about it, and know that they've been under attack from that neo-Nazi group and other militant groups in Ukraine. It's basically gangs, mercenaries attacking them for like the last 8-10 years. We're not supposed to know about any of that.
Yeah, it's not just gangs and mercenaries. This is obviously, as you just saw in the picture I showed before, these are government-sanctioned, government-financed, government-built neo-Nazi militant groups, just like the Army National Reserve being built up in this neo-Nazi fashion. Was Zelensky involved? He is a neo-Nazi. There's 53, or no, it's 35. Sorry, there's 35 open. They're out of the closet, just like if you're out of the closet, a gay or transsexual, whatever, totally open. 35 parliament members in Ukrainian parliament that are open neo-Nazi supporters and people. That's who they are. That's the values.
But if we don't support them, we're the neo-Nazis, Thomas. That's what these psychopath liberals say.
Right,
these,
and they're
leftists.
There's not a single voice among any of these people in the left stopping to question and say, wait a second, what the hell is, hey, wow, that's curious, look at this. They're not a single mind is saying, what the hell is this about? What's going on here? They're not even curious to look this up. They're just immediately canceling this, immediately deleting any of this, immediately blocking anybody who shows this to them. They're not questioning this. They're not interested in that, and they're just going along in this like a zombie crowd.
It's this mass formation psychosis, Thomas. I think the same thing with COVID. Here's some more of this propaganda. This is Olga Ivanov. She has reportedly destroyed 2 Russian tank battalions. Picture on the right. When asked about her exploits, she quipped, "Tonight we dine in hell." Right? So it's obviously a joke. I mean, this is the level of propaganda. This model right here, right? It's a bikini model. She blew up these tanks, supposedly, right? I mean, that's the level of absurdity.
And this is going to be the left wing's marketing campaign to get left wing women to sign up for the military now that patriots are not allowed, right?
Yeah,
so,
well, equality. So send your. Let me show you this one. This is a funny one too. Here, let me show you this clip here, Thomas, before you get back into it. Oh. Let me show you this funny clip. What you got to watch close on this one. It goes by fast, but just some of that deep state, or maybe this is out of the movie. I'm not sure, but watch this clip close. See that? You had stormtroopers here from Star Wars. This is a Russian plane shot down in Ukraine, they say. That's it's hard to tell satire from reality. Thomas is having internet problems, but more of the destroy yourself
fake material on the internet, right?
We're really going to do it together, guys. Together by ending the sale of vodka and poutine. We'll stop Russia, and then so. Canadian restaurant scrubs poutine from slogan in solidarity with Ukraine. More of this virtue signaling, just idiocy.
Yeah, and poutine, it's not spelled the same. It has nothing to do with it. Poutine.
No, it has nothing. It literally has nothing to do with it at all.
It's just French fries and some cheese and gravy. What the hell does that have to do with food? It's nothing to do with food. It doesn't sound the same. It's French. As far as I know, it originated in Quebec, which is the French province, right? So a little Frenchy name, poutine. There's a little Frenchy accent there to it, right? So show this screen that I'm showing here. Show that to the viewers. And the left doesn't know this, and now they're cheering on this fake actor puppet, American. Chosen New American Century Project, CIA demanded and blackmailed and extorted and bribed into position Zelensky. This guy, the whole left wing is calling him a hero in this total psychosis, in this orchestrated filming, this movie style Hollywood filming and orchestration of all of this propaganda. He's an actor.
Thomas, it's
He's not
admitted. It's admitted he's a Jew. He's not Ukrainian, right? That's
Right.
openly admitted right here. And we're supposed to cheer this guy on? You're not even Ukrainian, dude. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with where he was born or where he comes from as an immigrant or whatnot yet, but and most people aren't, right? And so they don't understand these issues in the Ukraine. So they should be asking questions, not jumping on a side. They should be, finding out information, finding out what's going on. And if they, if the left wing absolutely hate George Bush, and here George Bush is on the side of this, so that should make all of the left wing start to question what's going on. George Bush supporting this. Well, if George Bush is supporting this, maybe I should distrust that. Maybe I should question some of this.
Thomas, they started supporting George Bush as soon as he went anti-Trump and became a never Trumper. The left wingers love George Bush now. When a short 10 years ago, at that time, they hated George Bush with everything they had, and that's what gave us Obama. But now, in a short 10, 12 years, they love George Bush again.
Yeah, well, I don't think they really love George Bush. They're just, parading him as a useful tool that's, pushing their side of their agenda that they actually want. So when George Bush is, is promoting that, it's they're just going along with that agenda. So, oh, look, George Bush is is our side now, like this kind of thing. But
here you go, Coke or Pepsi, Thomas. Coke or Pepsi, retweet for Ukraine, like for Putin. How about none of them? How about neither one of these guys? Right? That's my position, is neither one of them.
Yeah. So share the screen that I've got here that I'm showing. If you can share that to the people. So this is Zelensky. Zelensky was a comedian on TV playing the part of an actor, playing the part of he was acting out, like impersonating a president. So he was, and making a joke. So he was a fake guy, an actor, pretending, right, for years before, while the previous presidents were in office. And then all of a sudden, you have this fake actor comedian, like a Stephen Colbert guy, dressing up as Trump every single day and making fun of him, mocking him, etc. And then all of a sudden, he runs for office, right, and wins the election, and suddenly he's the president of the Ukraine, right? And he, again, yes, he is Jewish, right? And of course, the entire mainstream media, all of the left-wing media, the 6 major organizations, it's all Jewish people. It's almost entire, like 90% plus Jewish anchors, and all of them married to the democrat officials, etc. Not all, but I mean, it is
a lot. We saw that, Thomas. We saw that come out in the WikiLeaks during the Trump-Hillary campaign, 2016. All these people are interconnected, working in the government, working in the media. It's beyond ridiculous. Total conflicts of interest. These people have no credibility whatsoever. They should be laughed out of the room anytime they speak.
And there's not a church, like a Christian church anywhere in America, or, from the American, Christian branch of the tree overseas, etc. There's not a single one of them that is anti-Israel, right? There are some that are independent and talking about both sides and talking about the corruption in the Israeli government and what they're doing, like taking, they're talking about the Zionist side of, that group amongst the, 20 plus million Israeli people internationally, etc. So it's a lot of people. There's different groups. There's different sects going on. It's not all the same. Not all of them are, conservative. There's the conservative Jews and there's the non-conservative Jews. That you have your LGBTQ, XYZ Jews who, and there's divisions and rifts and arguments between them, these kind of things. So there's not a church anywhere, Christians anywhere, that are really anti-Israel. They're very much pro-Israel, etc., and sending the money and all kinds of things. So, and as a Christian, I'm not anti-Israel in any respect either. But you can't help but notice these patterns once you start to learn about these things. there is an incredible, overwhelming, total controlling influence of the mainstream media that is overwhelmingly Israeli and Jewish, and they're really controlling this. And for them to be so one-sided on these issues, and then see this massive corruption amongst the mainstream media, this question, if you're a thinking person, this has got to start eating away at you at some point in time, to think this is just not right. There's something really deeply wrong going on here. Why would they be doing this? Why would they be promoting all of this corruption? Why would they be lying through the face about so many issues endlessly, blatantly, and criminally framing people, getting people arrested, making all of these hoaxes, making all of these massive frauds, these criminal frauds, doing all of this crime, supporting the destruction of America? Why are these Israeli networks, so Jewish networks, so anti-American, so anti-sovereignty, so with this one world government, new world order, totalitarian dictatorship, anti-human rights, anti-freedom agenda, just full out in a war style? What the hell is going on with that?
Because it's monopolized now, Thomas. What is it? In 1980, there's something like almost 100 independent media companies in America. And since then, it's been consolidated down into 5 or 6. And so that's where there's charts. Everybody should search those charts, and you can see there's a bunch of different charts online. Search who owns the media, and you can see, you think that this channel, they're all independent. Actually, no, they're all underneath. What is it? You got Comcast, News Corp, Disney. I forget. There's like 2 or 3 other ones, and that's it. And that's who controls it. It's a oligopoly, is what it is.
Right. So, Donetsk and Luhansk, the story that's not being told, they declared independence from Ukraine 8 years ago, these 2 states. So just like I've said in the last couple shows, and they've been carpet shelled by the Zelensky government and administration, the military, and these neo-Nazi militarized groups that have been armed, through money coming into Ukraine.
Did Thomas get cut off there again? He got cut off there again. There's a bad internet connection, but I mean, the propaganda, just go search #Ukraine, and you can see, I was showing this a little bit earlier. I mean, this is an incredible level of propaganda. And people buy it and they share this stuff, and there's all this footage coming out. We don't know if any of this is real, okay? But people are sharing it all over the place. Look, it's been showing that these are old photos from like a couple of years ago, but they're putting it out there like he's fighting on the front lines now, right? You got all these photos of Zelensky, right? And you got the propaganda everywhere. New York was lit up, and you see it all over the place. And this goes on and on. Stop it, Putin. A lot of propaganda. San Francisco City Hall, of course. Lit up Ukrainian, huh? Really? Do you people know anything about what's going on in Ukraine? They don't care. Woke virtue signaling. Looks like we lost Thomas there again. Let's go take a look at Drudge Report now. Drudge Report says the humiliation of Putin, resorting to chemical weapons. Russian media. Okay. Looks like Thomas is back. I'm going over the headlines on the Drudge Report here. Big time propaganda. 3,500 troops killed, 200 captured. Soldiers were told they were going to a drill. Forces attacked children's hospital. Kiev skies glow orange. Zelensky unlikely journey from comedy to Ukrainian hero. Smartphone in hand. President takes center stage. Destroy the occupiers.
Right. So in COVID, how many fake deaths do we have? Millions. They said millions died. Millions and millions and millions were killed, supposedly by COVID-19. And what was the actual real figure at the end of the year, the first year from of 2021? I don't know if it was calendar year or from March 2020 to March 2021, but the first official year of the COVID fraudemic, only 740 people were the CDC even able to isolate down to, okay, they actually died from only COVID-19. They weren't already terminally ill, scheduled for death by, on average, 3 to 6 comorbidities, so actual causes of death other than SARS-CoV-2, COVID-19. And they're only diagnosed with what? Either the criminally fraudulent, jacked up to 40 to 55 cycles PCR test, or just a diagnosis, a guess, right, with zero scientific evidence whatsoever. Only 740 deaths was the reality number. And even that is, obviously incorrect. It's far less than that when you get into the actual, scientific analysis of it. But they lied for years, that millions on every single,
they're still lying, Thomas. Those are the official numbers. That's what's going down in the history books, are these lying numbers. They've lied to about the data. They've lied. I mean,
right. So history's been completely frauded, and they're going with that. They're sticking with that. They're making that the history. It's completely made up. It's completely criminally fraudulent. And here you have Justin Trudeau, the dictator, the Hitler of.
You froze. They didn't like you talking bad about Trudeau, but just amazing levels of propaganda.
So now, we got people in the climate debate, the independent candidates, the real scientists, they're pulling up similar data in the southern hemisphere for the islands, Falkland Islands, and different places, South Africa and Zambia and Zimbabwe. We're pulling up the temperature as far back as it goes to try and replace.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our.
Sorry about that. Go ahead. Are you there, Thomas? Did we lose you again? You got a bad connection there. Can you hear me? Oh, can't have dead air time. We got to keep going. Thomas is making a great point about the COVID numbers, the data. It all came out. They still keep quoting what? 800,000 died, right? It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. They know it's not true. More exposing the propaganda. Take a look at this. This is disturbing. Brainwashing is real. Mainstream media is all scripted. Mind control TV. Take a look at this clip.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities, the El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are concerned about irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country. The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda control.
And it goes on a little bit longer, but I mean, it shows you all these hundreds of broadcasts. Go ahead, Thomas.
My connection terrible today. Something with the internet here. But also some issues over here on this side of the world. The government messing with the internet connections of everybody in some of their development. Here I'm sharing U.S. Embassy in Ukraine just deleted from its website all of the documents about the 11 Pentagon-funded biolabs in the Ukraine. There's other documents to claim that there's 15 Pentagon and Department of Defense funded. So it could be some funded through the Pentagon and some through other, non-Pentagon related.
Probably NIH. That's where all Fauci funds it through, is the NIH.
Right. So all of the documents have been published, which were been deleted by the embassy, by this person, Dilyana Gatenjeva and others have also posted those documents as well, and people can use a Wayback Machine, at least for now. Who knows how long it'll be before they scrub that entire system, so people can't use that. Obviously, the deep state doesn't want those kind of tools into people's hands. It's only a matter of time before they're going to target and destroy that, or legislate that out, or make some agreement.
You have to flush it down the memory hole to get you conspiracy theorists to actually have a memory and go and use these tools, the Wayback Machine, to dig out stuff that they've scrubbed off the internet, Thomas.
So we've got, all of these, corrupt bioweapons labs being built in other countries around the world, and all clandestine and hidden, etc. And of course, and then they're lying and trying to make claims that supposedly Putin will destroy those or something, but they want to hide their corruption. I mean, there's no reason for them to hide this. It should have been out in the open before. So there's all kinds of things going on. I would love for us to play this for the people. Hunter Biden had let's share this tab instead. Okay, I'm going to share this video. Can we play this video here? This is about Hunter Biden. People, there's all big, huge piles of files being burned. Pause it for a second. So they're burning piles of files outside of the intelligence agency building in Kiev, and people are suggesting that might be the files, for Hunter Biden and Biden administration corruption and the prostitution rings. There was a lot of evidence and information coming out that Hunter Biden was involved for years in sex trafficking rings and prostitution rings in the Ukraine, and of course,
sex trafficking, blackmail, you name it. That guy's doing it.
Right, and Jeffrey Epstein, the Jeffrey Epstein child pedophilia ring was heavily involved with Eastern European girls, and that's come out numerous times, etc. And Hunter Biden, everybody knows. Well, the left wing probably doesn't know because it's not. He was involved in years of sex trafficking, right? And videos of him in rooms with prostitutes, talking about his father's run for a president, and how he's afraid he's going to screw that up and things like this, and talking about his many exploits, and all of that information has been hidden. And now what's come out is the Secret Service. The Secret Service has now suddenly lost. As they claim it, they claim to have lost 3 years of Hunter Biden's travel records magically. So all of the backups are gone. All of the copies are gone. All of the forensic evidence, they could easily get that off of any of the computers or any of the drives. So what they've done is they've gone and they deliberately deleted that at every single level that data would have transferred from and to. They've deleted all of the backups. They've deleted all of the friends. So they bleach bit the entire thing. It's impossible to lose all of that data. It's impossible. So they've
we lost it. Oops, Thomas, we lost it. Sorry. And by the way, there's a bonfire where we're throwing in the files. Oops, we burned it.
Right. So,
and we see the same pattern of corruption, right? Remember the Hillary Clinton email server? They bleach bitted it. Right, they smashed their Blackberries with hammers. Remember all that? And so we see the same thing, destroying evidence here.
Right, and in the FBI and the DOJ as well, they've magically lost all of the names of the sex trafficking, pimps and all of these people that had sex with these 100+ girls that are in the Jeffrey Epstein lawsuit. They're definitely the left. And these corrupt district attorneys and attorney generals, they're not asking that question. They're
what's curious about that, Thomas, is why do the left wingers, the liberal Democrats, why don't they see that and they say, hey, there's a bunch of Republicans involved in that, and zero in and attack them on that, right? But they don't want to hear anything about it. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, both sides here, both sides.
Right, because they know that Bill Clinton is involved, and all of their heroes, their so-called heroes, are involved in that and orchestrated that, and the primary culprits and criminals behind that. So they don't want any of that spoken about. They want it swallowed up, of course, because that's bad for their political football team. They're not interested in getting to the truth. They're not interested in justice. They're not interested in they want that world where that kind of disgusting degeneracy is all of society and swallows up all of society. That's what their real dream is. It's very clear that's the world that they are fighting for, and that's the world that they're fighting to create and defend and build into all parts of society. And it's incredible that what a turn of events of the West. So let's play this because it's got some really interesting information. So we're going to have to.
That's pretty damning evidence there. And for our audio audience, again, thanks for sticking with us on that. It was just a bunch of headlines, newspaper reports about the sex trafficking and the corruption between Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, and Ukraine. And so it's very curious. And we showed the visual of the Ukrainian embassy over there dumping out the papers into a bonfire.
Yeah, the number one donors to the Clinton Foundation were Ukraine, and these corrupt Ukrainian officials, right? And everybody knows the Clinton Foundation. This is buying the office. So here we go. Let's look at okay. So I'm sharing that tab. Let's have a look at that for a second. The foreign donors contributions by individuals of more than $50,000 to the Clinton Foundation for the 15 years of 1999 to 2014 by nationality of donor. So the most money that came in was from Ukraine, over $10 million, right? The Clinton Foundation of the Haiti and the other holes, right, is the go-to place for corrupt American politicians and corrupt politicians around the world to do not only money laundering, but also bribe the White House, bribe the State Department, and get these big payoffs and the money flowing into the NGOs, et cetera, and then create the orange color revolution, which happened up to 2014. And then in 2014, John Brennan, director of CIA under the Obama administration, which ran these illegal wars in Iraq, et cetera, and in Syria, destroyed Syria, and then on it goes. The John Brennan,
known communist too, by the way, member of the Communist Party, admitted he voted for the Communist Party.
He's a hardcore fundamentalist Muslim as well, according to his own words, right?
Yeah.
And then the Iran scandal, where they're giving $180+ million in assets. So they're freezing all of Putin's assets, freezing all the Russian assets, but they're unfreezing all of the Iran, a real terror regime, right? They're unfreezing all of Iran's assets. They're giving Iran nuclear power, giving Iran nuclear weapons, and just airdropped $85 billion worth of the top military gear in history, American history. Just donated the fourth largest military arsenal in the entire world to Iran through Afghanistan next door. They couldn't airdrop that to Iran so easily. So let's airdrop it next door in our, fake war in Afghanistan for all of this time, and leave them behind all of the arms. It almost seems, like it was it had to be orchestrated, like that was their goal the entire time. And of course, the Biden-Obama administration was, the Iranians stated that they bribed the Obama White House, and they threatened, even on Twitter, on social media, many times they threatened to release all of the information about the bribery that they've done. And it was at the highest levels of the American government and in the White House. And none of these left-wing people, are questioning that. That doesn't, they're just sweeping it all under the rug and pretending that none of that happened, pretending it doesn't exist. And they're not willing to ask a single question about it and become an independent.
Thomas, you're a conspiracy theorist. I remember when they flew pallets of cash of billions of dollars the Obama administration did to Iran. Thomas, let's look the other way. Oh yeah, they're the good guys now. It's completely ridiculous. Let's you're talking about the assets, the SWIFT banking system. Now let's hear from the EU. The EU to ban certain Russian banks from SWIFT, paralyzing assets of Russian central bank and further freeze assets of oligarchs. Let's hear the announcement from the EU here now. Oh, let me get that up on the screen.
That a certain number of Russian banks are removed from SWIFT. This will ensure that these banks are disconnected from the international financial system and harm their ability to operate globally. SWIFT is the world's dominant global interbank payment system. Cutting banks off will stop them from conducting most of their financial transactions worldwide and effectively block Russian exports and imports. Second, we will stop Putin from using his war chest. We will paralyze assets of Russia's central bank. This will freeze transactions, and it will make it impossible for the central bank to liquidate assets. And finally, we will work to prohibit Russian oligarchs from using their financial assets on our markets.
So that's they're freezing up all Russian. That's our woke cancel culture. I guess they're canceling Russia now, Thomas, but Iran's perfectly fine to do business.
Yeah, Iran open for business. Corrupt Joe Biden is handing Iran the entire oil industry, saying, Iran is going to save us from the pipelines that I canceled, and the pipelines that Justin Trudeau canceled. Iran is going to save us from the energy problems of the world. Iran's pumping capacity is what's going to save us. And now you have like a New York Times and the Washington Post saying, yes, Iranian oil save us from, the energy woes of the world? And this is what they're promoting. Jeff Bezos is promoting. So and now we have the entire brainwashed, zombie army. Maybe that's why all the Russians are painting the letter Z on all of their tanks, because they know that they're fighting against the zombie army. But the left-wing blue checks, they're all lying that that the Russians are shelling Kiev indiscriminately, and lying that they're aiming at civilian targets, and lying that they're fighting civilians. And here we have Zelensky, who's an Israeli asset, right, a Jewish asset, and he's using the same tactics as the Palestinians, the terrorists in Israel. They plant all of the missiles and the rocket launchers and the mortar launchers inside of the residential zones and next to civilian buildings, so that they cannot be fired on, and then they can fire endlessly out at the targets that they're aiming at from Gaza, etc. And then the Israelis are saying, well, they're using these, they're hiding this in residential zones, so we have no choice but to fire back, and they're killing.
Thomas, you got a bad internet connection. Sorry, folks. He gets on a good one, and then I'm just throwing up the incredible propaganda that we're seeing here. Miss Ukraine, right? me throw that up there again. Here's Miss Ukraine. And pretty good looking woman there, Miss Ukraine. But now she's a Rambo super soldier fighting the evil Hitler Putin, right? I mean, man, we've never seen this level of propaganda before. It's truly amazing.
So we've got, here it is. So we've got this scene, and I think this has been shared more than any other on Twitter from what I can see, is this building, this rocket hit the side of a building there. And they actually have video.
There you go.
Yeah, so they have video footage of it coming into the building, and they have video footage of every single angle of this rocket, and video footage of where it originated from. And it originated from a ground-based, so a surface-to-air missile launcher, Iranian, and the guidance system went off. So they're firing at Russian planes or these kind of things, and the guidance system, had a problem, and then it ended up hitting a Ukrainian building here in Kiev. So, and there's a big investigation into that, of course. With all of this fraudulent propaganda in there, I expect everybody would expect that, of course, this is going to end up just an unsolved he said, she said, where the Ukraine's going to cover that up and use that to lie about Russia. They're obviously not interested in the truth. The government's clearly not telling the truth, and they're hiding the atrocities of this war criminal Zelensky and this carpet shelling that he's done on the Donetsk and Luhansk states, on the Donbass region. They're hiding all of it. They're not willing to talk about it. They're lying through their teeth about all of it, as is, as you were playing the American candidates earlier, lying through her teeth about it as well. She knows about that. She's not stupid, and he's not willing to talk about that. She's, and this has been going on for 8 years. World War I was over in less time than 8 years. World War II was over in less time than 8 years. But for more than 8 years already, the American deep state and the New American Century Project under Kissinger and Brzezinski, they've been fighting this, and George Soros and the money in there, and then John McCain and Biden and Obama and all of the corruption of these projects. They've been fighting this war for more than 8 years already, longer than World War II has been going on. This massive campaign against these people of the Donbass. They're Russian ethnic people. They speak Russian. They have a right to determine their right. So where's the support for their sovereignty? Where's the support for their rightful independence? But now they're just lying that, oh, Putin is doing an illegal war. It's war, not the special operation. And where's the interest in the actual facts, or some balance, or both sides? And, anytime there's an argument, there's two sides of the story, and somebody is generally lying, and sometimes both sides are lying. I mean, if it's two leftists, they're certainly both people lying, whatever, just trying to win. They're not interested in the actual truth, and it's up to the courts and the judges, etc., investigators, people of truth and actual facts and reason, to really get to the bottom of this. If you have a company, you have a business, and you have two staff fighting, you need to figure out what's going on, get to the bottom of the actual substance, and figure out what the truth actually is. You don't just instantly, go along in a zombie army supporting whatever it is that they're telling you that you have to support, or they're going to deplatform you or cancel you or delete you on social media, whatnot. The truth matters. It doesn't matter, what these people are doing in their corruption, or their political football shit fighting online. The truth is what's matter. The facts are what is supposed to matter. Unfortunately, I don't see Trump talking about the atrocities being done to these people. I don't see that either, very sadly. And he's not talking about going in there and saying that he would have demanded some tribunal for this, or some panel of judges or something. He's not talking about the rights of these people. He's not talking about the independence of the Donbass region. Notice that nobody's celebrating the independence of these Donbass victims these neo-Nazi atrocities.
Nobody wants to talk about it, Thomas. You know who's talking about Ukraine over here? Our good buddy George Soros. You see this? George Soros tweeted, or his managers or whoever, maybe he tweeted this. I don't know. He says, "I have witnessed Ukraine transform from a collapsing part of the Soviet Union to a liberal democracy and an open society." Right? That's his foundation, the Open Society Foundation, that does all the humanitarian work around the world, helping to collapse countries. It has faced countless acts of Russian aggression, but has persisted. Brave Ukrainians are now on the front line and risking their lives in an onslaught that reminds me of the siege of Budapest in 1944 and the siege of Sarajevo in 1993. It is important that both the transatlantic alliance, the United States, Canada, and the European Union, and the United Kingdom, but also other nations, do whatever is in their power to support Ukraine in its time of existential threat. Putin's actions are a direct attack on the sovereignty of the states that were once in the Soviet Union and beyond. Russia is in clear violation of the United Nations Charter and should be held accountable. Allowing Putin to succeed on his quest will send a message across the world that nations can simply be created or dissolved by brute force. We must hashtag stand with Ukraine as they stand for us. Really, Ukraine stands for us? I never even heard Ukraine say one good word about the United States, but Thomas, it's truly amazing. So George Soros is now going to lecture us, and the mainstream narrative also, another part of this propaganda, Putin is doing this to recreate the Soviet Union. That's what they're telling us, and that seems to be going the direction that old George Soros is telling us. What do you think about what George Soros has to say?
I mean, it's just an absolutely like a way off the.
Man, we're getting there's a good cartoon. I strongly condemn Russia's attack on Ukraine. Uncle Sam right here. The mainstream media, and of course swept under the rug, are Syria, Somalia, Iraq, and Libya. Isn't that the truth? Wow, we gotta raise some money and get Thomas some better internet connection over there. He's having a heck of a time with his internet connection. Here's some.
How's it connected again? So what about Edward Snowden? Edward Snowden is living in the open democratic society and capitalist free market society of Russia. In fact, Edward Snowden is hiding from the unjust military industrial.
Hiding from Brennan over there, right? Brennan, the former head of the NSA, right? He's hiding from him,
right? Edward Snowden was becoming sort of a left-wing hero, kind of bringing some of the people from the left wing, the brainwashed zombie army.
Thomas, I remember. Now that you bring up Snowden, I remember when it first broke. I think it was like, I want to say 2011, 12, maybe, if I can remember back. Anyway, that first broke. Oh, yeah, NSA spying on everybody. Snowden released all the documents, proved it, right? And at that time, the liberal Democrats protested against that, and I was there protesting with them because I was like, yeah, I want a Fourth Amendment right to not be unreasonably searched and seized. My property, my communications, I want property. I want privacy rights. And the left wing at that time seemed to understand that, and they went and protested in support of Snowden. How far we have fallen now.
Right. And here you have Soros, he's saying, it reminds me, what Putin's doing reminds me of what happened in Budapest and these other places. He can't even come up with a single Russian aggression example to use. He's got to use, acts of other different parties and other countries and other places. He can't even come up with a single act of Russian aggression to use. They keep talking about all of these acts of Russian aggression. what acts of Russian aggression? Where are their military campaigns? They don't even have a single example to fall on. And the claims of all of these killed Russian troops, there's not
Thomas,
a single.
you don't remember Russia killed Gaddafi in Libya? You don't remember that when Putin went and killed him and stole all his gold? Oh no, that was the United States under Hillary Clinton and Obama. That's who did that, actually. Liberals.
Right. So the left wing suddenly out of nowhere. I mean, I can't even believe it. This is just blows you over. Shocking. They're all of a sudden talking about protecting sovereignty. Wow. What the hell happened? I mean, they're right-wing extremists. That's white nationalism. They're talking about protecting, the rights of an actual country. I mean, they spent the last 40 years campaigning completely against that. They're for globalist, one world, new world order, totalitarian dictatorship. The EU states, the elites deciding out of this tiny little UN, EU, Brussels bubble of very few people deciding everything for everyone around the world. Forget about states. How dare Poland make decisions for their own country? How dare Hungary make actual decisions on their own country? And it's not decided from the dictatorship over in Brussels. How dare America and Americans think that they can actually have their own sovereignty and their own country and interests? But when it comes to Ukraine, if anybody's going to come and save these poor Donbass people, these ethnic Russians, Zelensky actually, and this is an important point, and every leftist needs to face up to this. Zelensky literally signed legislation into the Ukrainian parliament. Zelensky is a neo-Nazi. He signed literal legislation into the parliament that states that the Russian people are less than human. They are subhuman. He made that the law in Ukraine. He made that the policy of Ukraine, that they are less than human. They are subhuman. He banned them from being able to speak their own language in their own territory. Imagine if they banned the English language or banned the Native Americans from being able to speak their own languages on their tiny little Indian reserves that they gave them as they're force injecting them, etc. Imagine the outcry from the left and the human rights activists and the Southern Poverty Law Center. Where's a Southern Poverty Law Center talking about the language human rights of these ethnic Russian people in the Donbass region that have been there's kindergartens that they're targeting residential areas. The Zelensky neo-Nazi army has just fired endless shelling and rockets, etc., into just residential zones inside of Russia where there's no military targets at all. They're targeting schools. They're targeting right, and then they're lying that supposedly Russia is targeting the residential areas as they're hiding the weapons and the launchers inside of the residential areas in the Ukraine. And you can see this from the Ukrainian people videos on social media and pictures that they're doing this. Everyone can see this right out in the open. It's incredible to wake up over the years of seeing more and more of this all over the world, and what the American deep state, this corrupt, evil, New American Century project, what they're doing, to see this and realize that this is really our world. This is what's been going on. And then to see this massive propaganda and how they're orchestrating this centrally, and then deleting every single voice, deleting every person who questions, deleting everybody who reports on this, so that they can create this just sweeping zombie instantaneous army where everybody goes along with it, and there's no dissent, and they eliminate all of that dissent so that they can create these Nazi armies that they can use, that don't question and just follow and just obey in this mindless zombie brainwashing. And just to click.
Formation psychosis, Thomas. I think that this ties into COVID now. I wanted to shift gears and get into the COVID coverage. Any last comments, concerns about the Russian-Ukrainian conflict here now?
Well, clearly, Putin has made it very public. They went through the Minsk agreement over the last 8 years, since 2014, where there was an agreement made, a treaty made, where the Ukraine had to abide by certain, targets and rules that they follow, and so did Russia, so did Putin, etc. Ukraine broke all of the rules. They refused to follow the Minsk agreements. That was internationally recognized agreements and requirements for the neo-Nazi campaign of Zelensky to follow. He broke those agreements. So Russia has no choice but to go in and save these people that are being mass murdered and targeted. He has no choice but to do that. The Zelensky government is clearly completely corrupt and is a puppet, organization in parliament that's just totally infested by real-life radical neo-Nazis, militarized neo-Nazi groups, and targeting people that are, ethnic Russians. They've got massive, anti-Russian hate, and this is not new for the Eastern European region. We've seen these kind of movements before in Czechoslovakia, in the war crimes in Serbia, etc., that happened, in the mass graves in there. We've seen these, ethnic cleansing happening many times since World War II, and then previously, again, the German Nazis did this as well, and since 1900. I mean, it's just there's little pockets of this that keep being created and stirred up here and there, everywhere, and here it is again. And the international community should be protecting these people. They shouldn't be, there should be nobody ignoring the plight of what's going on. It should be two-sided, and it's just outrageously one-sided, like no other conflict in my lifetime that I've ever seen. It's just so outrageously so, and this is so incredibly dangerous for all of humanity. So what's gonna happen next when these totalitarian dictators, like you showed the woman who's leading the EU, etc., who just signed the massive record in history agreement to force inject all of the EU with Pfizer, injections that where the death rate from the triple injected has gone up over 500% just in January alone. She took a massive payment. I believe the documents were over $20 million to her family in her family business interests with that contract, etc. She's got corrupt interests with these injections, so she's selling her own product, forcing it on the European people. And here she is the one talking about destroying all of the exports and imports of Russia and completely sanctioning all of their banks.
Canceling them. Thomas, they're canceling them from the international banking system, basically, with the SWIFT.
Right. And here you have, again, the Rothschild.
You froze up there. It's everybody go to, I don't even want to show all this propaganda, but you can go see Donbass. Everybody needs discernment to figure out what's going on. We're getting conflicting reports from every side is propagandizing for the war, as you would expect. But I mean, to sit there and virtue signal, and that's why we're doing this show, to try to research it, try to figure out what's going on, who's telling the truth, who's the good guys, who's the bad guys. Again, we're praying for peace. We don't want any war. We don't want innocent lives lost.
I think the only path to peace is a full investigation of both sides, all the information, and absolutely everybody questioning all of this, everybody beyond the propaganda, beyond the brainwashing, and everybody fighting for these Donbass victims, fighting for the truth to come out about this neo-Nazism that's permeated this party, fighting for the truth of the Zelensky puppeteering, and fighting to get the access to the truth of the CIA meddling and the orange color revolution of the Soros organization into the Ukraine. I think we need to quickly get beyond the just zombie army calling for peace and no war, but actually proper representation and protection of these Donbass people, and a full investigation to bring to justice all of these evil perpetrators of this corruption in all of these corruption cases, from the Biden corruption case, the Hunter Biden corruption case, the Zelensky corruption case, the Poroshenko corruption case, the Burisma corruption case, etc. And the Brennan involvement. That we need to be praying for, an awakening and full education of the public, and a full investigation into these issues. And if we're not calling for that, if everybody's not calling for that, there's never going to be any peace. There's just going to be this runaway, total takeover of all information, of all data, of all education, and it's just going to be just a runaway train wreck of corrupt war machine, illegal wars, lying to get to war, just like they lied about weapons of mass destruction. It's the exact same thing going on here, but much faster, much more race to war and race to blame and race to lie. It's way worse than the weapons of mass destruction fraud campaign that was perpetrated by George Bush, who the leftists now, that's their Jesus. So we need an awakening, not this just everybody going along and saying we need peace, let's pray for peace, let's pray for no war. There is no war. There's a special operation by Russia to go and do some corrupt, illegal regime, criminal regime.
That's a good point, Thomas, that you made right there. Is that there is no war? It's a special operation. That's a great point.
And there is peace. Putin is calling for peace. He's stated again and again. I mean, this has been going on for years. They've been stating their policy, and the media is attacking them. You can see these so-called, fake news interviews where they hardball go on and lie through their teeth and have interviews with the Russian ambassadors. There's one that was posted all over social media, again, by a left-wing brainwashing blue chick, saying, oh, look at this heroic Irish, fake news media talking head attacking and lying and manipulating and interrupting continuously this ambassador, not letting him speak, and then just jumping in, interrupting him to manipulate everything he said, and just baselessly call everything he said a lie when those are the facts. That's the records, and the broadcaster is lying, the interviewer is lying through his face, and it's very clear for anybody independent watching this. What's being done is they're interviewing that. Let's get him on, but then let's attack him in this way that manipulates the viewer into, thinking what we want them to think, and try everything we can to discredit this person and discredit what they're talking about. But we're not going to show the viewers any information on that. We're not going to show them the history. We're not going to talk to any of the other parties, co-parties, countries that were involved in those investigations. It's just pure manipulation, and that's what they're aiming for. Just to foment, anger and hatred, exactly what these Nazis want in their campaign. Hate Russia, hate agency campaign against Russia. What we need to be calling for is not for peace, but an end to the hate agency campaign against Russia, an end to hate against Russians. We need to be calling for love for the Russian people, fairness to all parties, right? Involvement and recognition of the independence of the Donbass states, celebration of the independence of Luhansk, the right for sovereignty of the Luhansk and the Donetsk states, the sovereignty of those states. That's, if anybody's talking about sovereignty, that's the sovereignty that should be campaigned for. But the liar and the Nazi who literally worked for Adolf Hitler, George Soros, is saying we need the sovereignty of Ukraine because we're trying to steal the sovereignty of the Donetsk and the Luhansk states that's rightful. And we're trying to execute those people and eliminate those people from the region.
We lost audio there again. We lost our audio, Thomas. I don't know if you can hear me. You're on a good one there, breaking it down. Yeah, I agree with you. Let's end the hate campaign. We've had nothing but a hate campaign against Russia, Trump supporters in this country for the last 5 years. Let's end the hate campaign. I wanted to shift gears now away from the war coverage. Trying to sort that out. Everybody do your own research about that. Make up your own mind. George Soros, a big-time globalist, he's supporting Ukraine, so make of that what you will. Thomas, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm just a quick plug for the energy industry and what's happening with energy for people. Now we have another Chinese company, one of these fraudsters. A lot of people are very concerned about these, implosion and embezzlement and fraudulent companies that China continues to list on the U.S. stock market, and the SEC is doing nothing. Here we now have another one, Chinese company, supposedly investing into Fusion, the fake Fusion, which is a total criminal fraud. that's been going on, being perpetrated against the world for over 85 years already, this fake fusion. They're lying through their teeth that supposedly they can get this magical reaction that if you squeeze you melt two things together, two atoms together, that magical free energy from Never Neverland is going to pop out of absolutely nowhere, and more abundant than anything ever anybody's seen before. And they insist that you believe this, but then if any innovator creates anything that's slightly better than anything else, they lie that, the laws of thermodynamics dictate that you can't break that unless it's fusion from the government. So give us your trillions of dollars in tax money. We're going to redirect that from your taxes into this fake hot fusion scam. Now we have another, and for 85 years, they've never generated a single picowatt of electricity. Can you imagine any American company or any startup that, carried on, like a Theranos was able to carry on their fraud campaign for 85 years without producing a single, blood testing device, or an electric truck company like Nikola Motors carrying on their fraudulent fake videos of trucks rolling down hills like as if they're self-powered. And they carried this on for 85 years, frauding government money and investor money, and never produced a single vehicle or even the outer shell of a single vehicle. Can you imagine what would be done to these people and what everybody would be demanding the SEC do to them? But in 85 years, generations, beyond your grandfather, they've been frauding this endlessly, and this is government sanctioned. This is your SciComm, your universities, your so-called science experts of the left, your Harvards, your MITs, your Stanfords, all of these people participating in this total criminal fraud to steal money from the government and steal money from the taxpayer. Never produced a single picowatt, and they admit that they never will. Everybody in the industry knows it's fraud. And now we have a Chinese company taking in money, saying that they're going to do it, and they're confident, so confident that they're going to be able to solve this and produce this in 5 years from the beginning of absolutely zero, right? And then their plan is to list this company on the American stock market and suck endless billions of dollars from the American investors and suckers and pension funds, your pension funds, into this fraud and steal all this money and make it go poof. Because we've got this energy situation problem in the Ukraine, and if we had a solution to this, then Putin couldn't do his evil protection.
Right when Thomas gets on a roll, he freezes
So
up.
again, exploitation comes up immediately. And this charities in Bitcoin, they're saying, send Ukraine Bitcoin. So again, the Hurricane Katrina charity frauds of billions of dollars probably going to be occurring through Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin industry has never been so charitable.
Yeah, you're cutting out there.
So the Bitcoin industry never been so charitable. So I don't expect there's going to be too much money going from the Bitcoiners to any causes. And a lot of these people are questioning type minds. So, fewer of them will have their money built by this. But, a lot of the left-wing blue checks who have a lot of Bitcoin are going to end up slightly poorer by sending their money into endless, frauds from all over the world, orchestrated, pretending to be Ukrainians and pretending to be Ukrainian charities. So be careful with your Bitcoin. Be a little bit wise. Take some time. The people are fine there. Putin is not targeting civilians. He's far more responsible than these neo-Nazi organizations run by fake actor Zelensky, John Brennan puppet. So Putin loves the Russian people. He's protecting the Russian people. He's managed endless conflicts from Syria to Kazakhstan to Afghanistan he's managed endless conflicts successfully in the past. He's a great leader. He's going to do everything that he can. He's done a great job reforming Russia into a free market capitalist. He's fought corruption and done an incredible job. He made an incredible stock market. He's really done a magical job advancing the economic interests and making a better life for Russians. Nothing's perfect in there. It's a huge country with many, strong countries on its border, and had all kinds of terrorism conflicts that America couldn't even imagine continuously, not just a 9/11, one thing every, government orchestrated, largely, in the last 20 years, and then everything's safe, across the other side of the world. They're right in the middle of everything. And he's had to deal with all of this, plus endless, Western and NATO incursions and meddling in his country and these attacks. And not to mention the illegal sanctions against this country that have been done, in the competition. If the new American century, if they can take over Russia and control Russia and control all of, that massive energy petrol station for the world, you can imagine what that does for their globalist stranglehold and totalitarian control over all of humanity. And that's their goal. If they can get Putin out and they can somehow get a puppet into Russia and take over and control that by using maximum pressure, like these sanctions, etc. I mean, that's a panacea type victory for them. And make no mistake about it, they are aiming at that. That's what they're trying to achieve, and bring all of this into one centralized, German Brussels dictatorship.
One world government, right?
Right. And, so they see Russia, Russia is a sovereign state. They say that, oh, we're for sovereignty, but not the sovereignty of Russia. We're going to absorb Russia into.
They're not for United States sovereignty, Thomas.
Right. Exactly. So they're completely anti-sovereign. If you're against the globalist dictatorship, if you're against the WHO, look how they treated Trump separating from the WHO. Look how they treated Trump separating from the UN. How dare he talk about American sovereignty? They were saying at the time, how dare he talk about, we're not moving to this one world totalitarian, open society, which is really, right, the totalitarian dictatorship. Open society equals, you're under our rules and under our thumb, under our centralized elitist, privy council, imperialism and colonialism dictates. That's George Soros's quote unquote open society. George Soros's open society is not for breakthrough energy. They are not for clean energy, real clean energy revolution. They are against that. They don't support these breakthrough clean energy innovators. We've solicited the open society. They have no interest in this kind of direction, in real sovereignty for people to have their own electricity, their own power generation, their own independence, being off the grid in any respect. Therefore, making a total slavery grid in all respects, right? The metaverse, where Zuckerberg stated, if you die in our metaverse, you will die in real life. We will kill you. We will destroy your business. We will debank you. We will sanction you. We will eliminate your exports and imports, your economic activity. We will eliminate, like the Book of Revelation says. It's right out of their playbook now. The Book of Revelations is the left-wing playbook. We will eliminate your ability to buy and sell. And, you're going to take the mark of the beast, and whatever we say whatever we dictate to you that you're going to take into your body, whatever toxin, whatever experimental unproven poison, we're going to lie that it's safe and effective, despite the death rate going up 500% in a single month. And you're going to take it. You're going to shut up, or we're going to kill you from the real life, right?
for your own health, right, Thomas? I wonder. Here's the Open Society Foundation. They donated $23.6 million for journalism in 2020. You think we could get any of that money?
Yeah, absolutely not. Clearly. It's 100% propaganda that's going to, bribing. It's not bribing journalists who aren't, who are on another side of things, and then going to flip flop. This is going to be probably going to be some of that money went to Sean Penn, the actor. Let's show that to the viewers. We had Sean Penn.
Sean Penn. Coincidentally, Sean Penn is over there in Ukraine doing a. Do they have? Oh, they're not funding energy.
You think we?
I was looking for energy for you. They're funding. By the way, George Soros Open Society Foundations is funding democratic practices, early childhood and education development, economic equity and justice, equality and anti-discrimination, health and rights, higher education, human rights movements and institutions, information and digital rights, journalism, justice reform, and rule of law. That's laughable. And so, yeah, that's your woke social justice agenda right there, funded a lot by Open Society Foundation.
Right. But no protection of the human rights of the Donbass people. All of those, no inclusion and diversity of the Donbass people. No recognition of sovereignty and independence and open society for the Donbass people. Again and again and again. So everything that he's saying, it's a manipulated fraud. They hijack all of these terms, hijack climate, hijack environment, hijack clean energy. They hijack all of these terms and dictate policy to it and say, diversity and inclusion, but what is that? Is whatever they say it is. So they brainwash all of these people that have these issues, say, yeah, that's diversity. And they just write these people, they don't know the issues, and they hijack and add whatever else and craft this policy and manipulate that. They're just taking over these domains and frauding everybody with it. They're hijacking all of it. That's greenwashing, but it's greenwashing right in all the issues, in inclusion, in diversity. Like, and here's another example. I just applied. I went to apply to a venture capitalist, a VC, who announced that they're expanding into Southeast Asia, and they're promoting things like diversity and inclusion. And their policy of diversity is what? We support, and we're going to fund everything but white males. So we want women, we want Asians, we want people of color, we want black people, so not white people. LGBTQ, etc., everything except for white males. Now you look at Southeast Asia. There's no white males in Southeast Asia, right? There's not 1% white people, not even remotely close to that in terms of the population. And there's almost like you practically cannot find a white founder anywhere. Though there are, in terms of percentage, there's hundreds, there's thousands of them. Certainly, and the vast majority of them are not employees, but they are, there's many deep state employees, USAID, Asia Foundation, these kind of organizations and NGOs and white people working for them, mostly, far left-wingers, but those who are not, they have their own businesses, etc. So they've hijacked this diversity. So we have regions where, 93% of humanity is not white people, 93%. So if you're really going to support diversity worldwide, so that involves promoting more white people, right, in these countries that don't have any.
Thomas, white people are inherently evil and bad according to the woke religion. So you're not going to get any. Maybe if you're gay or transgender, then maybe a white person could get some type of grant money out of this. These philanthropic groups that are all for equality, except for the white straight males. Those are the evil people in this world.
Right. Now, as long as they're giving all of the money to their own, family foundations, right, where it's going to their family and friends, and right.
Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, the Carnegie Foundation, the George Soros Open Society Foundation, the Ford Foundation, the Tides Foundation. There's a giant list of all these nonprofit foundations pushing this left-wing woke agenda, Thomas, and it's truly disgusting, discriminating against people openly, but it's accepted because of woke social justice ideology.
Right, and and here's another example. In China, I started my startup when I was living in China at the time. I was living there for 5 years. We pitched in over 40 venues across the country in over 12 cities, standing ovations everywhere we pitched. We won number 3 out of the international startup competition between China, the UK, Singapore, and Hong Kong. These 4 countries all together. There was over 500 startups hand chosen. We won number 3. And we pitched to over 2,000 crazy rich, corrupt Asian bosses, vast majority of them Chinese. But, and they said, we love what you're doing. This is so great. Thank you for coming, etc. But we refuse to fund to foreigner. And there's never been, in the history of China, there's never been a foreign funded startup anywhere that anybody can.
We need some funding for your internet. Thomas. Sorry about that, audience. Thanks for sticking with us. Thomas is on a tear about his adventures over there.
So,
go ahead.
Who's going to fund diversity and inclusion in China, right? To promote, they're openly anti-black, for example, right? It's a very anti-black society.
Not China, Thomas. They wouldn't discriminate against anybody.
Yeah, like who's going to, go into any of these countries where, let's say the OIC states, the Organization of Islamic Countries, who's going to go into the 51 OIC states and, and campaign for diversity and inclusion that they fund, white, complete and total minority where they're not even allowed, they're murdered in the country. Who's going to campaign for, this diversity? Like, let's include some Christians into the mix. Let's include some Jewish people into the mix and allow them or promote funding them. How about white Jewish? Wow, what a different, there's even none of them in there. Who's going to promote that? They're certainly not promoting any of those kind of values. So they're not really about diversity. It's all American based.
The Muslim Uyghurs, right? Let's include them. Throw them in the mix too.
Right, and they don't talk about these names. The real white supremacists, Bill Gates, who runs the Negro Extermination Project. Oh, he's their Jesus, right? You can't dare, well, he's so rich, and we want to get some access to his money, so we wouldn't at some point in time. So we wouldn't want to dare offend.
And Soros admitted on 60 Minutes he worked for the Nazis. And so, yeah, but if
this leftists have a lot of money and power because, they need to brown nose and prosecute.
We got to fix your internet over there, Thomas. It's keep cutting out in and out.
Yeah, so this, so of course, our application to this diversity and inclusion VC will fall on completely deaf ears, and we are who they are excluding and not including, and wow. So, hey, the priorities of the world, breakthrough clean energy, that doesn't even supersede the racism, the anti-white racism. Very sadly,
global warming, climate change is trumped by hating by woke social justice. So obvious,
right? It's been, the entire movement has been completely co-opted. It's been completely hijacked and taken over by this elite, corrupt, far left-wing Nazi apparatus and people and deep state, warmongers, etc., like your Bill Gates, like your John Brennan, like your Obama Biden administration, etc. Biden, he promised, we're going to make a greener world, greener society. What does he go and do? Immediately, he shut down the pipelines, hands everything to the terrorists, OPEC and Iran, and creating this,
he immediately makes America dependent on foreign energy when we were energy independent against Trump. With Trump, but that's a woke liberal idiocracy clown world over here.
Right. So completely, make the energy industry even way more corrupt than it was, as if the corruption of the American, the clean, accountable, proper accounting, Securities Commission standards, as if that was, wasn't corrupt enough. Let's hand it all to these, regimes and banana republics and terror regimes, etc. Let's hand all of the money and the future of humanity to them instead, and then and just throw. They printed $9 billion or $9 trillion. Sorry, $9 trillion new money, handed it out to all of their corporations and their corporate friends. That didn't go to startups. There wasn't any policy support at all for startups. Not a single word, not a single mention. Let alone breakthrough energy. No money went to breakthrough energy from government policy. Nothing went to breakthrough clean energy innovators out in these emerging markets. Nothing went to startups in these emerging markets. If you want to talk about diversity and inclusion, how about funding the startups, the tech for dev startups? There's over 1 million of them, and nobody's supporting them. Nobody's helping them. What about impact at an early stage? All of these startups and innovators, like John F. Kennedy said, he campaigned, let's send 100,000 engineers out into all of these developing countries and help them do engineering. Yeah, and we're a startup that it has that values, and we went and did it, and we've sacrificed, paid the price, and been building for 7 years. We have more attackers. There's not many attackers. We have more attackers than any kind of support that we've ever received from any of these NGOs, governments, climate organizations. We solicited over 450 of these climate organizations talking about the end of the world and climate crisis and climate extinction and Extinction Rebellion and all of this. We solicited Extinction Rebellion. They snarled at us. They snarled at us and attacked us in the message.
Well, you're not radical enough for Extinction Rebellion. These people that go around and super glue themselves to the highway and lay in the middle of traffic and jump up and down, and it's a mess. Continuing here, Elon Musk apparently is virtue signaling over there about Ukraine. It says this guy from Ukraine, a blue check mark. I don't know who he is on Twitter, but he says, Elon Musk, while you try to colonize Mars, Russia tried to occupy Ukraine. While your rockets successfully land from space, Russian rockets attack Ukrainian civilian people. We ask you to provide Ukraine with Starlink stations and to address sane Russians to stand. And then Elon Musk replies, Starlink service is now activated in Ukraine. More terminals en route. What do you make of that, Thomas? It looks like Elon Musk is giving Ukraine satellite internet access through Starlink now.
More terminals en route. So ground stations, something to do with ground, right? Is not going to launch more, floating satellites floating, right? Under what technology? Floating under what technology? Satellites into the sky, into orbit. Right. So what are they doing? Nobody even really understands what Starlink is. Can any layman go to a store and buy a Starlink satellite phone that's on their service or something like that? It's all deep state, clandestine, military industrial complex communications, etc. Not accessible to you, the public, not accessible for any business.
But he's saying he's going to give everybody in the Ukraine internet through Starlink satellite internet uplinks. I don't understand how any of it works, but
Ukraine has internet. They have very good internet. They have internet way off in the
better internet than you do. Oh man, we've had a rough connections here, Thomas. I want to segue now. I wanted to segue, show this poll. We appreciate all your analysis, but we're just having a hard time with I want to segue with this poll. What is it, to continue with the theme of the propaganda of this show, exposing it, getting people to think, just don't believe me, don't believe Thomas, do your own research, man. That's what we continue. That's the theme of the show. That's what we continue to say. Do your own research, and we're putting out a lot of information to you, giving you something to think about. Ran this poll on Twitter. It's still up. Go vote on it at Weaponized News. What is your favorite propaganda? War, COVID, racism, economy. It looks like COVID is winning by 33.7% right now. We got 86 votes, which is a decent poll out there. Obviously, it's not scientific. Obviously, it's satirical. But I wanted to use that to segue into our ending segment about COVID. Right here out of the Wall Street Journal, Pfizer, Moderna, other drug makers make billions responding to COVID-19 pandemic. Global sales of COVID vaccines and treatments reported so far top $79 billion. And so companies including Pfizer, Moderna have reported so far earning $79 billion through 2021 for their COVID-19 vaccinations. And so they care about everybody's health. they're the saviors of the world while also making billions of dollars. So that makes you question their true intentions here. Now, more about the COVID. Let me cover these stories, Thomas, and then we'll get your comments about it. National vaccine pass has quietly rolled out and red states are getting on board. That's an article out of Forbes. And so you can get your little COVID app on your phone, your vaccine passport with your QR code to scan. It's your travel pass. It's to go and come from places. And so here's a map of where it's being implemented. Smart. And we saw California roll out the Smarter Endemic COVID plan through Gavin Newsom, the illegitimate World Economic Forum stepbrother of Justin Trudeau, the tyrant up there in Canada. And so you can see right here, if it's in green, Smart Health Card. And so a lot of states are implementing it and coming soon in yellow. And so you do see some red states here: Alabama, Arizona, a couple of
Right. So they certainly don't want any sovereignty from any of these countries. They certainly don't support sovereignty for any of these countries to choose their own direction outside of the globalist dictatorship vaccine passport, right? Which they totally control under the WHO and Bill Gates.
Segueing to that right here, Thomas, the World Health Organization makes moves on international vaccine passport, and that's out of Politico. Are we going to get censored? I mean, this is mainstream news. Forbes, Wall Street Journal, Politico. Will we get censored for reporting on this? Probably, Thomas. Probably. Because Sam Cheney, Weaponized News, Thomas over there at Alpha Omega Energy, we're not allowed to even talk about COVID or give an opinion now. We'll get censored, even though these are mainstream news reports now.
Right. So, they don't want any sovereignty, any nations getting out of that. And, the 6 African presidents who insisted on sovereignty and insisted that they were not going to comply with this program and they're not going to inject their people, they're all dead. There was 2 assassination attempts on the Madagascar president. Somehow he got through those, and the other 5 are all dead. So wow, and of course, for a very long time, the left wingers were fighting against the same exact imperialism and colonialism, but they're silent. They sure are silent now. They're not against imperialism and colonialism anymore. They're 100% for it. So they've been completely co-opted. Their groups, they're all of their celebrities that used to fight against imperialism and colonialism. From time to time, they talk about that, but now it's the patriarchy. So it's even been hijacked into a different category. So, and what is the patriarchy? Well, that's a husband and wife, natural family, right? So that's the patriarchy now. It has absolutely, and the left wing is all for and in support of the royal family, the elite royal family.
But not your family. The woke are for the royal family, the monarchy, but not your family, because they have to break down the family to collapse society to bring in one world government. Thomas, on this report from out of Politico now, the WHO making moves on international vaccine passport. This is 2 days ago. Published right now. So this is recent news. Is what us conspiracy theorists were telling you 2 years ago. They're going to use this for a digital ID to track and trace everywhere you go and take away any type of privacy or rights that you thought you may have had. And so now we're seeing the proliferation of bioweapons research. mRNA tech transfer hubs expand. The WHO said Wednesday that 5 more countries will join South Africa hub to eventually produce their own vaccines, quote, bioweapons. Bangladesh, Indonesia, Pakistan, Serbia, and Vietnam now are going to produce their own mRNA vaccines, Thomas. I feel so much better. The proliferation of bioweapons now is being endorsed by the World Health Organization. continuing. And this one's smart. Anytime you see anything with smart attached to it, know that that's part of the globalist agenda. Smartphone, smart car, smart city, smart health cards, erase ease travel. And so they're rolling it out. Everybody's distracted looking over there at the... Are you there, Thomas? Looks like you froze up again. Everybody's looking at potentially World War III, Russia, Ukraine. They're rolling out the vaccine passport here in the United States globally.
Yeah. So, and what, and all of these bioweapons facilities, these facilities, making these these mRNA fake gene therapies. People say, oh, they're talking, oh, they're gene therapies. They're not gene therapies. It's fake gene therapies. There's zero therapeutic benefit to mRNA technology. There's never been anything shown that this is providing any safe actual benefit to people. All of the mRNA studies, animal studies, have murdered all of the animals that are used. Where's PETA on that? Why isn't PETA talking about that? Because again, they're completely corrupt. It's a co-opted movement and organization. They're not really about protecting animals. These millions of minks, etc. Don't wear a mink, but it's fine. PETA is 100% in support of you mass murdering millions of minks to test bioweapons and test these mRNA gene therapies that all they do is murder 100% of all the animals that they use to test on. And now this is being proliferated around the world and open. But the DoD programs, we're going to delete all the documents off of the embassy and hide that from the public, right? Can't let anybody know about those. So we're so pro mRNA and gene therapy in these engineered in a lab therapies and new treatments, etc. Now we have hundreds of new companies and startups, etc., in the mRNA field, right? And there's no evidence at all to suggest yet that this can actually be useful or helpful, and they have such limitations on even the analysis of the damage that's done when they actually use these in a human being, and they're not even willing to do any animal studies anymore. They don't even have to do any animal studies.
The meme, Thomas, the meme is the mice are saying, we're going to wait to be part of this experiment till they get done with the humans, right? That meme with the mice. Let's see this report now from Edward Dowd. He was actually came on Weaponized News a month ago now, maybe or longer, before he made it big in the alternative media. But he's been tracking the financial end of it. Blackstone manager. He's growing a lot since he came on this show. Everybody can go back and look at that interview I did with him. But he's saying now, as of today, what we've learned, the Pfizer clinical trial data is fraud garbage. Real world proof of the above. Insurers have seen in a 40% increase in deaths 18 to 64 in second half of 2021. German insurers released data showing 1 in 25 Germans had injury. 1 in 25. DoD leak and VAR's data. So he's building the case from the financial end. And there's a little
right.
He'll
be completely deleted from all left-wing Nazi media, big Nazi tech. I think it's probably important everybody start calling them big Nazi tech. It's exactly what they are. That's what the Nazis do, and that's what they did. That was their policy. That was their propaganda strategy. It's all throughout history. Everybody can see it, and they're just reading directly out of Joseph Goebbels' manipulation campaign and doing exactly cut and paste exactly what the Nazis did. That's the exact suppression that they used: the elimination of free speech, the elimination of debate, the demonization of debate and those who want to engage in debate, the censorship, the stripping of their assets, the sanctioning of them, the stealing of their property, the shutting down of their businesses, etc. That's exactly every single one of the things that the left wing is doing and campaigning for and supporting. And that's exactly what the Nazis did and the Nazi Party did. It's a 100% carbon copy. They're just reading out of history and doing the exact same thing. The building of the concentration camps, the lying that, you need to do this for the good of society. You need to take these 100% animal murdering, right? Humans are animals too. They say we're from monkeys. So it's killed all the monkeys. All these injections have murdered 100% of the monkeys that supposedly we're from, that they insist, and they'll deplatform you if you dare suggest that we're not actually from monkeys. And they'll call you like a Neanderthal and anti-science and all these things. But all of their mRNA so-called therapies that are not therapies, they're fake therapies. They've murdered all of the monkeys that supposedly we are. But they promise you that they're safe and effective, and they're not going to kill you. They kill every other animal it's used on, 100% of them. But they're not going to, they're completely safe. You're guaranteed not to kill you. But all the insurance companies call it suicide if you dare take these injections. They're not going to pay your life insurance premiums. It's suicide, they're stating to you. But completely trust them and take these injections. And no country is allowed to get out of this. We're not for your sovereignty when it comes to our total usurping and taking over and elimination of your sovereignty. You need to be under our new centralized WHO, Bill Gates controlled health, imperialist, colonialist. Bill Gates is on the Privy Council, knighted by the Queen. He is the patriarchy, right? And we can see that Bill Gates cheating on his wife, committing adultery many times, running, hiring whores and all of these kind of things. And he's not for any diversity. He's not for any inclusion. He's ran and sponsored and funded campaigns to mass murder blacks. Literally called the Negro Extermination Project. And there's not a single leftist in the world that's calling him out on that. Not a single one has gone above the nose up his ass, kissing to ever call him out on that. Not a single leftist has gone outside of this, and they're not willing to question their royalty and call them out. And even Harry and Meghan, before I cut out, I was going to mention even Harry and Meghan leaving the royal family due to the racism and the patriarchy and all of these left-wing causes. That's not even enough to get them to get the left-wingers against these royal elites, right? They love them so much. They're so untouchable. The Queen, who owns the vast majority, 1/6 of all of the property under the Queen's person in these organizations, etc., including and her total control over states like Canada and the raping of these Indian people and the force injecting them, the sterilization of these people. You think that they care about the natives. What happened to their campaign about letting the natives have their sovereignty and protection on their reservations to have their own lives? That's all gone. The leftists are 100% against that. They're 100%.
You froze up again there, Thomas. I'm just putting
every one of their campaigns, every one of their so-called value stands. They're 100% against themselves on every issue across the board. They've all been co-opted.
Bloomberg mainstream media here. COVID booster do not provide protection against Omicron. Study finds COVID-19 vaccines alone aren't enough to block Omicron, one study suggests. And that's out of Bloomberg there, as you can see. And there's a long list here of the adverse reactions that it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And I'm not going to read them all now because I'm getting kind of tired. We're 2 hours, 15 minutes into this broadcast. I wanted to read this, if I can find it here. People often ask me why I hate the government so much. Only government could use your own money to sign a deal with a company to manufacture a drug, grant the manufacturer immunity from liability if anything goes wrong with the drug, and then punish you for not taking the drug. Why do you hate the government so much? I think that sums it up pretty succinctly right there. It looks like we lost Thomas there. He's having a lot of trouble with the internet connection where he's at. Let me just wrap this up. This guy right here, a big time COVID fearmonger pusher. And so he's mad now at the CDC. He says, magic. We go from left map to right map in just one day. Hallelujah. One day COVID will just disappear. Never thought CDC will gaslight us on this. So this was COVID map where we're all afraid everybody's dead, high risk, all in red there you could see. And so next day they published this map, February 24th, 2 days ago, 3 days ago now. We got some pockets of low, pockets of medium, pockets of high. But it's definitely not as scary as this map, right? And this guy's upset about it because he's been pushing COVID-19, be afraid we're all going to die the whole time. And so now he's having a little hissy fit on his Twitter account here, yelling at the CDC. Isn't that interesting? Continuing here. There's so many adverse reactions. It's mind-blowing. I'm going to play these clips. Let me play you this video from a mashup about what's going on here. Let's take a look at this.
I'm cited as some, mastermind of some evil plot in many, many cases. So what could cause an excess in a single year of 10 million deaths? Now, clearly a big war could. And a pandemic, natural or created by bioterror. Who's the bad guy here? Well, normalcy only returns when we've largely vaccinated the entire global population. But you don't have a choice. People act like you have a choice. Well, this won't be the last pandemic that we face. We'll have to prepare for the next one. That will get attention this time.
You had a number of meetings with Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, he's dead, so
$300 million is donated to these various media organizations, which for sure has some sort of an impact on how they cover him.
Big leap.
Wow. That little 1 minute mashup said a lot. Continuing here. Looks like we lost Thomas. Thank you for coming on the show and giving us your analysis, Thomas. Let's hear from Dr. Pathologist, Dr. Ryan Cole, gives his impassioned testimony against Tony Fauci and the rest of the health authorities who refuse to do science. I have a post-vaccine 9-year-old on my desk dead. I don't want to see one more child post-vaccine ever on my desk. Let's hear this video. And Thomas looks like he's back online.
So what's happened to the autopsy? Well, Anthony Fauci told our government to tell people don't do autopsies on COVID patients. You cannot find that for which you do not look. I have a post-vaccine 9-year-old on my desk, dead. I don't want to see one more child post-vaccine ever on my desk. Are the autopsies starting to happen? You bet they are, finally, because people are saying, well, why wouldn't we do that?
2 years
And in
later.
that same town from which this 9-year-old died, a healthy 22-year-old wrestler, after his third shot, is now also coming to be on my desk so I can determine the cause of death there. We were told, don't do autopsies, don't look, and that's what your government is giving you for data. Don't ask, don't tell, don't look. These are not the droids you're looking for. Everything is safe and effective. Go jab up the children with a shot that doesn't work for a virus that isn't here anymore, for a virus that most of them are already recovered from.
And they're Depopulationists.
Safe and effective? Don't do science? Don't ask a
Trust
question?
the science. Trust the science is not
Destroy the
asking.
careers of those that do ask a question, that are only in it for humanity? Valid questions to ask yourself.
But if you ask for autopsies, you're banned from left-wing social media.
Go ahead. That's shocking from a pathologist talking about the autopsies that he's doing on dead children.
Right.
But we
And all
can't talk about it because we trust the science. So we can't talk about it and have a scientific debate.
Right, and all the
we
funeral
trust the
directors,
science.
all the funeral directors have stated since the injections began, there's just massive increase in deaths at all levels of all age groups, etc. But of course, many funeral homes, they're, they've been paid. They've been on the take selling the body parts of the aborted babies, etc. for a very long time. So they're very much inside of the Bill Gates Planned Parenthood Negro Extermination Project apparatus. And make their livelihood, make their millions, make their riches from selling these baby body parts, etc. And they're co-opted, and they're never going to speak out. And there's a huge number of them, and that's been exposed by left-wing social media, left-wing mainstream media. Even CNN, the Child Necrophilia Network, has done all kinds of exposures on that. But no, let's ignore all that because that's a left-wing, religious sacred cow. Is we're not certainly not going to get into that because then that might lead to potentially talking about the abortion choice issue. So it doesn't have to be excluded. Doesn't have to mean that. Doesn't have to get close to that. There's so many other issues in here for them doing that and that kind of corruption. But no, they're not going to talk about that because that might get into the choice to murder your children debate, right? And we're not going to allow anything that gets remotely close to that territory. So, we got all of these hundreds of, new bioweapons plants. And now, the clandestine, the illegal bioweapons research that was being done, now that's being taken out of the closet and being whitewashed, greenwashed, right? And being called, oh, those are now startups. And those are, right, all of this research and this development of these experimental, completely 100% deadly to all animals and animal trials, concoctions, all of that is now, oh, those are now biotechnologies. That's all biotech now and biotech startups, right? So that's all been co-opted and hijacked and now given this greenwashing label that we should be, testing on absolutely everything that there is, with no animal trials, no safety trials, no safety data, just fake computer models, right? And then pushing all of this like radical, psychosis of just any concoction, injecting that into the people, force injecting that into the people, and no state around in the world has any right to sovereignty to say no to that. No person has any right to say no to that. This is full Nazism on display. It's exactly what the Nazis were doing, and what these elite royalist families and Bill Gates' family was doing in financing the Nazis and propping up Adolf Hitler and propping up IG Farben and financing the gas chambers, financing and building the concentration camps with them. That's what they did, and they were doing it at the same time during World War II. It's the same exact families doing this, and they're just doing the exact same thing that they did before. They're doing it again and expanding this and taking over the world. And you can imagine, Trump, who says "Make America Great Again." What else would make America great again better than America in this American New Century Project, New American Century Project, NAC, taking over Russia and taking over through a Bill Gates American located, centrally controlled, total world government, totalitarian dictatorship underneath Bill Gates's WHO. What would be more make America great again than that, and then depopulating all of these non-American, non-NATO, right, countries and sanctioning all of their banks, unplugging them from business? What would make it greater than that? And here Trump is talking about going after Putin and pushing that forward and making that happen. Trump never criticized George Bush a single time. He never criticized his illegal war. He never criticized him. He never talked anything about these issues, any issues. Trump has been, Trump never mentioned the Bush ES&S voting machines. Watch the voting machines, but give Bush a pass on his. He never talked about the Al Gore, issue with the Florida elections, that the entire left wing insists that Al Gore lost the election. It was stolen from him by George Bush using the elections machines. But no, the election machines are totally said no fraud, no evidence of fraud. But Al Gore's was stolen by George Bush through the election machines. The left is 100% against themselves now on every single issue. They're against themselves on environment. They're against themselves on climate. Let's fund hundreds, thousands of these experimental, totally deadly toxins and lie that they're startups and lie right. Let's fund thousands of those. Anything, any founder, anybody comes up with, hey, I've got some new toxic drugs, some new mRNA therapy. Let's fund that with millions of dollars and force inject it into everybody and kill these presidents who dare say no and have any sovereignty. But no. Let's not fund the breakthrough clean energy innovators. If anybody's got their hand up and says, hey, I've got something here. No. They must be a liar. They must be a scamster. They must, be some crazy person, whatever, some fraud. Let's not fund them. Let's attack them instead. Let's censor them instead. Let's suppress them instead. And let's definitely not fund the white founders out in the emerging markets in these poor countries that are, sacrificing in poverty, trying to make this happen actually really for the world. Let's not fund them. Let's slander them instead and deplatform them. I just found out yesterday that Google has deplatformed us. That we used to search the top 50 links would come up. We're all alpha omega energy and links to like things, and backlinks, etc. It used to be like that. The top 5 pages of the images under Google Images were like all our marketing materials. It was all alpha omega energy. 100% of that is scrubbed on Google. You cannot even find us. You cannot even get to our website. You cannot come up with our website, no matter what you seem to try. What I tried yesterday, looking for this to see, what are people seeing when they search for alpha omega energy now? What are they seeing? And now the only thing that you can see is some faceless criminal fraudster lying about us on Fascist Book after Fascist Book deplatformed us from the platform, lying that we're fake, lying that we're this, and lying that. It's incredible. So we've been, here, big Nazi tech is, they're clearly 100% against breakthrough clean energy technology, 100% against the breakthrough clean energy technology innovators. Very clear. Why have they not supported us? Why have they not helped us? Why have they not reached out? Why have none of them talked to us? Instead, they're suppressing us and everybody else like us. And they've done that for 200 years. We're not the first ones to be suppressed. I used to think that energy suppression was bullshit. And it's crazy people talking about this. But when you actually go and try to do this, holy shit. I mean, it is incredible what actually the truth is. And you got many of these people making these fake accounts all across social media, talking about Nikola Tesla, talking about, fake cathedrals and all these fake, churches are really power plants, pumping this massive fraud of fusion, pumping, this more insane nuclear concoctions like thorium plants, which are far more risky and deadly than the existing nuclear, stations that we have. And 50 years on average, the average, reactors in France, some of these countries, in Ukraine, and they're breaking down. There's 18 nuclear power plants in Ukraine, and people are talking about the risks of those. But, no, the left wing. Let's forget about all the nuclear power plants. That's true. We haven't found a way to blame that on Putin yet, which I'm sure they'll do. I'm sure they'll do, but they're not talking. You see, they're not talking about these nuclear power plants. They're trying to co-opt Chernobyl, and now we see the Russian army and the Ukrainian army are both together cooperating, both on the site on Chernobyl, 100% allied together, protecting this power plant from any bad actors coming to attack it, from any of the deep state actors, the CIA, etc., from attacking this. They recognize that. Both sides of the military recognize that, and they're both together on site protecting that. But the left wing not going to. So
you cut out of there again. I'm just searching. Yeah, we got the same thing with weaponized news, scrubbed off of Google, except for Fresno CMAC. Appreciate them carrying the broadcast, Community Media Access Collaborative. They do carry the weaponized news broadcast, but go on Google and search weaponized news. That's all you'll find. Censorship, overwhelming, disgusting. The propaganda has been the theme of the show. I'm going to sign off here now at a little over 2.5 hours. So the themes were: don't trust the mainstream media for sure. Don't trust me. Don't trust Thomas. Do your own research. I showed you a lot of clear propaganda, clear fake news, clear misrepresentation about what's going on in Ukraine. It's coming out now. You're seeing now the more and more truth about COVID, about the COVID-19 vaccination. And so more truth will come out, and we'll continue to report on that. For Weaponized News, this is Sam Chaney signing off on a long broadcast here on a Saturday night in the Central Valley of California. Do your own research, subscribe to this channel, speak out, and take action.